Check 1, 2. ready to the right, to the left? Awesome. Anu, you ready? Anu, you ready?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. In closed session, the board took the following actions.
The board approved the superintendent's recommendation for the classified management position of Director of Maintenance, Operations, and Transportation with a vote of 3-0. In closed session, the board approved the superintendent's recommendation for the certificated management position of Interim Assistant Superintendent of Human Relations with a vote of 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you. This time, the motion to approve the open session agenda.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. At this time, for the flag salute, so everyone please rise. Hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the, wait, hold on. You can lead us. You lead us. Yep. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you. Awesome. I should have called you up right away. I own that. That was a great job. Thank you for that. We appreciate that. Comments from the public. Members of the public may address the board on any subject not on tonight's agenda. However, provisions of the Brown Act Government Code 54954.2a and .3 preclude any action. As an unagendized item, no response is required from the board or district staff, and no action can be taken. However, the board may instruct the superintendent to agendize the item for a future meeting. If you would like to address the board on any item on the agenda or one that does not appear on the agenda, please join us via Zoom. Click the raise your hand button and you will be called upon in order. When it is your turn, please state your name, address, and if you have any students in the district before you make public comment. You will have 2 minutes to make your public comment. Those wishing to speak during a specific agenda item will be called on at the appropriate time. Thank you for your participation in this strategic engagement. Scott, are there any public comments?
We have no online public comments, but you do have a couple of green cards.
Awesome. So the first public comment that I have here is from Dr. Roxanne Fuentes.
Good evening, Board of Trustees.
Is it on?
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Jordan, and the Milpitas community. I'm Dr. Roxanne Fuentes. I'm the superintendent for Berryessa Union School District, so right next door. But I'm here tonight as the Access State Board member for Region 8. I represent all of our administrators for our statewide California Association. In that role as a state board member, I had the opportunity to be on our annual awards committee, selecting award recipients across the state of California in various categories of administrative position. This year, it's just such an honor for me to be here to share with all of you that the Access State Superintendent of the Year Award is being given to Superintendent Cheryl Jordan. And I just have to share with all of you, it was such an honor to be part of that process. I already know all the wonderful things about Cheryl's leadership And I paused during the committee selection process thinking I probably need to abstain from, this vote because, she's such a good colleague of mine. But I was so pleased to know that after going through a very rigorous review, just to share with the board, there are 19 regions in the state of California representing all of our administrators, every region having a superintendent that they were advocating for. And once the committee went through reviewing all of the nominations, which included a pretty rigorous ranking of priorities based on years of service, leadership experience, and very specific projects that we were evaluating in terms of equity, student achievement, and community outreach and communication. It was unanimous selection from my committee colleagues that Superintendent Jordan was our selection for this year. So I was very happy not to have to abstain once I knew she had ones all across the committee. And I could also personally vouch for her collegiality, her leadership, and her friendship to me and all of those in our county. We truly appreciate partnering with Cheryl, and like I said, it's just an honor to be able to come here and share this wonderful news. A public announcement press release from AXA was released yesterday, and we will be having a large statewide celebration where Superintendent Jordan will receive her award and get recognition in November, and it'll be held in Sacramento. And we'll be sure to share more details as that becomes formulated. But as I said, congratulations to Cheryl and to the Milpitas community. Superintendent Jordan, you just have to know there are plenty of people that are in this space tonight that were part of that nomination process on your behalf. Many letters of recommendation and just such positive feedback and appreciation of your leadership. So thank you.
I don't know if you know, but State Superintendent of the Year is a pretty big deal.
A very big deal.
So we can do a little bit better than that, right?
Well, thank you very much, Superintendent Fuentes, and thank you to the board and President Norwood and all of my colleagues and Ms. Orlando, President of MTA. I think you wrote something there too. But I thank each of you, parents and students, for this opportunity to serve. And I couldn't have asked for anything better than to learn of this publicly with Beverly James in the audience. Beverly was the assistant principal when I was a teacher intern at Russell Middle School, and I still remember the mentoring that you gave me, and always coming into my classroom and letting me know how I could improve and the things that I was doing well, and you've always been there throughout my career, so I'm so glad that you could be here tonight. Thank you. Thank you, Beverly. And to each of the board members, and great to see you, and Nikita, and to you, and to Scott, and Wendy, and Jonathan, and Preeti, and Mary Jude, and Trustee Yip. I feel kind of like I'm at the Academy Awards. There truly are so many people to thank for your work, and I've been here since 1989. This is my other home, and I have become who I am because so much of what I do in relation and in teamwork with each of you, and on behalf of all of our learners, which are the reason, you are the reason that I'm here. And I couldn't ask for a better learning community to be with. And President Fuentes, I really appreciate all of the support and thought partnering that you do with me, as well as all of our team. So there's just so many people to thank. I just want each of you to know that you are an important person in my journey and in my life, and I thank you for being here and for serving in our mission to be the best place we can be for all learners, whether they're preschool or 60 plus years old. That's what MUSD is about. So thank you.
I think we're going to have to find time to celebrate this also in another way where everyone can have a chance to say a few words about the superintendent, because if we did it now, we'd be here probably for another half hour, 45 minutes at minimum. So we'll definitely find the right space and time for staff as well as the board to be able to comment on Superintendent Jordan as well. So again, congratulations, Superintendent, for all of the hard work that you do, and the celebration of your success at this level has just begun. You're welcome. We also have Suzette Bromagem, CSEA.
President Norwood, she's going to be speaking on an action item later
Okay.
in the agenda, yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right. Do we have any other comments from the public, Scott?
No other comments at this time.
Okay. I would also like to make a request before moving on to the next item that we move up on the agenda, item 17, 17.3, 17II, as well as, I'd like a motion to move up 17 III, Human Relations, approve the tentative agreement and memorandum of understanding between MUSD and CSEA. Is there a motion?
Motion to move.
We have a motion to move. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Seeing none, motion carries. I'd also like to make a motion to move up 17D, certify the 2022-23 compensation disclosure of the CSEA Chapter 281 Collective Bargaining Agreement. Certify the compensation disclosure of CSEA Chapter 281 Collective Bargaining Agreement. Is there a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion to move.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Seeing none, motion carries. Okay, Scott, could you do me a quick favor? Could we take the attendance for our student board reps?
Most certainly. We'll start with our student board rep, Nikita Sharma from Milpitas High School. And you would just say here.
Here.
Perfect, or present. Thank you for being here in person today. Let's see. Student board rep Ariana Rocha. She is there, but she might be having some issues with that. And then we have student board rep Mira Bakhter from Middle College High School, but she was unable to attend, but she sent a replacement for this evening. So we have student board rep Harish Raghunath.
Present.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Item 11, and then we'll do those items moved up right before we do the superintendent's report. Item 11, MUSD strategic goals, and we'll go to the right. So we'll do all five, the three of us. MUSD strategic goal number 1, build a culture of we that engages parents, staff, and community partners in supporting student success.
Improve communication systems for better outreach to parents, students, and staff.
Develop educational pathways that allow students to apply their passion in learning for their future careers.
Item 4, focus services and support systems to ensure that all students are engaged in their learning and making social, emotional, and academic gains.
Identify creative, student-focused strategies to accommodate enrollment growth and ensure healthy learning environments.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And at this time, I would like to go to the items that have been moved. Item 17, 17D, First, certify the 2022-23 compensation disclosure of CSEA Chapter 281 Collective Bargaining Agreement. Assistant Superintendent Business Services.
Hi, good evening. And as a part of Assembly Bill AB 1200, the district is required to provide financial disclosure after we signed a tentative agreement with each bargaining unit. So the district, Scott, do you mind? Do you want to share the attachment, the financial disclosure here?
I can certainly do that. Give me one sec.
Okay. While Scott pulling that up, this is a standard document that provided by our county office, and we did a similar disclosure after we settled with our Teachers Association, MTA. So tonight, this is for our CSEA, California School Employees Association. And is that up? Okay. So for the current year, we have salary schedule ongoing 9.65%. And also $100 medical cap increase effective January 1st, 2023. And then the cumulative, if you look at the section in the middle here, for the financial impact in the current year, 22-23, salary with statutory benefit, the cost is about $2 million. And then we listed the benefit, so that's the medical cap increase just for this year. And then the total compensation and the projected PERS rate, that is as a part of the statutory benefit cost. And the next year, there is, so this salary increase is ongoing. So the cost slightly increased because there is a staff column increase each year for staff that they're not at the highest salary placement. And then the year after is a similar increase. It does not meaning that we have another 9.65% increase next year and the year after.
Okay.
So any questions for this disclosure?
Are there any questions from the board? Okay.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. So we're asking the board tonight to accept this disclosure.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to accept.
We have a motion to accept the disclosure. Wait a minute, hold on. Before I make the motion, are there any comments from the public on this particular item?
Yes, you have Suzette Bramish.
Is this the item? Or this may not be the
Oh,
item?
the HR one.
Okay, awesome. Right, okay. So there's no additional discussion. We have a motion there's no comments from the public. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion from the board? No any additional discussion from the board. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Seeing none, motion carries. The next item we have is 17 III, Human Relations. Approved tentative agreement and memorandum of understanding between MUSD and the California School Employees Association, CSEA Chapter 281.
Thank you, President Norwood. On March 8th, negotiations concluded between the district and the California School Employee Association, CSEA. The term of the previous collective bargaining agreement was from 2017 to 2020. Therefore, this recently concluded negotiations were for an entirely new successor agreement. The three-year new term will be from 2021 to 2024 school years, and has been consistent with past practice with CSEA. There will be reopener negotiations for 23-24. I'd like to take at this time to recognize our CSEA team that came to the table. We worked for 5 months on 15 different articles and language. Our president, Suzette Bramijan, Vice President Sherry Ames, Secretary Lori Louie, Member Rita Wilson, George DiCarlo, and Guada Tanoka. I want to thank you for your partnership and the hard work and dedication that you provided representing over 350 employees in the Milpitas Unified School District. At this time, I'd also like to recognize our team, Director of HR, Damon James, Supervisor Heather Forsyth, Director of Secondary Education, Marissa Coide, newly appointed Coordinator of our preschool program, Vanessa Espedia, Principal at Burnett Elementary, Hannah Ostrat, Director of Student Nutrition Services, Sandy Huen, Assistant Superintendent Wendy Zung, Shani Yam, Director of Business Services, and our Executive Assistant, Lori Porter. Through these people that were at the table every day for these negotiations, we thought through the lens of when people read the articles, will they understand them? And so that was what made it long and time well spent. And like I said, we did 15 different articles. I won't list them all. And the main cost of it has been expressed to you through Wendy's report to the county. Nothing's changed from that. And that also, with that, we just are grateful for the opportunity to continue to work and do the great work with CSCA and the members of our association in our district. So with that, I would like to recommend to the trustees a recommendation to approve the proposed changes for the following tentative agreements as noted in the attached summary between Milpitas Unified School District and the California Schools Employees Association, Chapter 281, and for the 2021-2024 collective bargaining agreement.
2021-2024 collective bargaining agreement?
Correct. Those are the articles that we just updated.
Okay.
We were supposed to do this a year ago, but we were all tired, and so we said, let's put off these till this year.
Okay. Thank you for that.
You bet.
Now, are there any comments from the public?
Yes, we have Miss Suzette Bromagem.
Is it on?
Yes.
Okay, 3 times the charm, right?
Okay, absolutely.
First of all, I'd like to thank President Norwood for moving this item up in the agenda. I really appreciate it. So good evening, board members, Superintendent Jordan, and the Executive Cabinet. The negotiation team for CSEA Milpitas number 281, which is Sherry Ames, Lori Louie, Rita Wilson, Guada Tinoco, George DiCarlo, and our labor representative, Robin James Udegard, come before you, some in person, some virtually, to say a huge thank you for approving our tentative agreements for our full contract negotiation. We'd also like to thank the district team, Jonathan Brunson, Damon James, Heather Forsyth Cano, Hannah Osrat, Sandy Wynn, Vanessa Espedia, Marissa Coide, and attorney Matthew Darlington. Over the course of 14 negotiation sessions, totaling 112 hours, and additional time and effort outside of our scheduled time at the table, we successfully touched 15 articles of the collective bargaining agreement for CSEA chapter number 281 chapter. Early on, the CSEA team developed a theme of attract, retain, value, as you can see on my shirt. And this became our focus in every aspect we discussed. We wanted our contract to be something which could attract new employees, retain the excellent employees we already have, would be of value to the district, and would show that the district values its employees. CSEA and MUSD were able to agree on excellent terms, which benefit all of our unit members and the district. So we say thank you.
And we thank you for your service. Scott, are there any additional public comments on this item?
We have no public comments at this time.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion?
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? No additional discussion. There is a motion. Everyone has said aye. Is there a second? Aye. Any abstain? No abstain. Motion carries. Congratulations. There's a lot happening up here sometimes for me. Sometimes my brain is not moving as fast as it should, but it'll catch up, I promise you. Okay,
Could I say,
absolutely.
I just want to thank both teams for the work that you put in. It was a lot of discussion and a lot of commitment to, as President Bromagem said, to understanding where everybody was with the different definitions and ideals. And I really like your t-shirts, attract, retain, and value. And I think at the core, we all value and want the best for our students, and that means also supporting our learners who are in front of, beside, and in support of each of you. So thank you again for sticking through, persevering. I know that there were some times when the discussion was difficult, and I understand that the last 2 days were extremely collaborative and potentially a way to continue into the future for future years. So thank you. Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Brunson and Director James as well for your leadership alongside President Bromagem and Vice President Ames.
Thank you, Superintendent Jordan. And on behalf of the board, I echo the same sentiments. We understand the value that our classified employees offer to the district in each of our school sites. It takes a village, and part of our village is the classified employees that do so many different things around the district that we recognize in a variety of different ways, and we continue to care deeply about them and want them to have the pathways for success moving forward, because we all make this together. So thank you again for your service and the way that you serve the community. It's truly beneficial, and all the accolades that we get cannot be done without you, including Superintendent Jordan's opportunity to be Superintendent of the Year. So thank you for that. At this time, we're on to agenda item 12, Superintendent's Report.
All right. I would like to first recognize our students from the Extreme Robotics team. I see you're here tonight along with your advisors and parents. And I would in particular like to call out Yusern Ing, Kush Mahajan, and Sawan Srivastava. Did I say that correctly? And not only did you get through quarterfinals, but again, for another year, you are going to be competing at the World Championship and carrying the flag of MUSD. So way to go. I could have you come up along with your advisors and families to take a photo and receive your award.
I would really like to thank all our team members who came to our signature event and our state championships where we almost won it. And like all the work that we put in, where we put in like maybe hundreds of hours by now. We would also really like to thank our mentor, Eugene, who helped us when our robot didn't work and we were about to give up. He persuaded us to continue. And yeah, we would really like to thank everyone who helped us.
Just a quick addendum. All these members who are up here put their blood, sweat, and tears into making a robot work. Yusern here, he spent so many hours practicing driving the bot. Sawan over here spent hours working on the code, tuning it when it wouldn't work. And finally, Kush over here came hours to my house to work on the robot when he could have been doing other things with his life, but he chose to spend it working on a robot. So I'd like to thank all of them especially.
Yeah, I think Yusern and Arav pretty much covered it, but I'm pretty sure Sir and Ralph pretty much covered it, but yeah, thank you to Ralph as well for hosting us for all this time. And, you know, like it was not just me, it was him also who was like staying up, working on it too. And Sawan especially, because, you know, we got Think with the Think Award, which is the programming award at the state championships. So yeah, there's a huge thank you to him for spending so much time tuning exit conditions, PID, and everything. Yeah, so thank you.
I'd like to say a huge thank you to Arav and his parents for letting us come over to his house and letting us work on the robot there.
Okay, next I would like to recognize Vabavi Kulkarni. Vabavi, since freshman year at Milpitas High School, was determined to find a way to increase the number of refrigerated water bottle servers.
It's our first refrigerated one.
All right, I thought you had one. Oh, that's right, the others are not refrigerated. That's the key difference. And so, in working with our Associate Principal, Skylar Drager, and others, you were awarded a $5,000 grant in order to fund the refrigerated water bottle station. And I'm so glad that you get to see it in use and use it yourself before you graduate. So I'd like to have you come on up along with Skylar.
Yeah, Vabavi, we want to thank you because it really has been a 4-year journey for her to get this grant. Not only was it the water company's first attempt at a grant, but we've had some leadership changes and the whole process just took a while. Congratulations.
I would just like to begin by saying good evening, everyone, and thank you so much to the entire team of MUSD for supporting me and for allowing me to take part in this project. Thank you also to the staff of Valley Water for providing this opportunity. Thank you to my family for their constant support and encouragement. And last but not least, thank you to everyone at Milpitas High that has made this project a huge success. So far, we have saved over 600 plastic water bottles, and I'm so excited to see this number grow. So thank you so much.
Do you want me to take
Trustee No isn't here. So this next one is in recognition of the MUSD San Jose Community College Dual Enrollment Program. They are awarded one of 5 Hoffman Awards in Santa Clara County by the Santa Clara County School Boards Association. And I would like to recognize all the members of the team. And we have Principal Carissa Scott. We have Director of San Jose City College, Mike Mooney. We also have Mr. Michael Castro. We have our educators. Oh, they're all virtual. Could you have them up there for us? Yeah. Can you make it so we can see all of them? Yeah, I know. There's. And I also saw Ms. Lau. And is Ms. Castro, Ms. Ridley there? Put her cameras off, okay. And how about Ms. Rodriguez-Tran? Is she here with us? No? Okay. And how about Mr. Makantonge, our social sciences? No? Okay. And how about Ms. Ho? Okay. And I would also like to appreciate Executive Director Preeti Johari for her support. And before we take a picture, Ms. Scott, would you like to say a few words, and then Mr. Mooney?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for this award, and a special thank you to our team members at SJCC. They do such a great job. It's a great example of a collaborative effort and a shared vision resulting in student outcomes that are excellent. So very excited to continue our collaboration with them. I want to say a special thank you to Ms. Liz Ridley, who is here from the MUSD team for her hard work, doing the administrative stuff on that end. And I also wanted to thank Ms. Lau Manluco, who is here, who has helped us with overseeing some dual enrollment classes and supporting the dual enrollment students after hours.
Thank you. And Director Mooney, would you like to say a few words?
When we started the extension 7 years ago, we adopted the MUSD's motto of culture of we, and began working as a team with Norman Rodriguez and many of the people here. And the board gave us their blessing to start a middle college, or explore at least, and to build our dual enrollment program. And it is such a pleasure to work with so many dedicated people who really are working for the kids and for the district. And of course, as everybody that spoke, thank you for the team. You couldn't do it without a team. And congratulations, Cheryl. Amazing.
Thank you. And how about Mr. Castro? Would you like to say anything?
No, I mean, it's just a pleasure to work with these colleagues every day. Working with Carissa, Ms. Scott, Mandy, and the rest of the team, and including Tiffany and our new academic counselor, Sandy Ho. We're all very committed to the students. And we're all trying to outdo each other in service to our students. So I think that's what's working for all of us. And it is a pleasure and honor to work with everybody here in MUSD.
Thank you. And Ms. Lau Maluka? Okay. Well, I would like to say that one of the standout things that I appreciate when I'm over there and I see what's happening is how it really is an example of learner and educator working together as co-designers of their learning. And I greatly appreciate your dedication to making that a realization for all. And I'd like to ask President Norwood, could you share a bit with us about the Hoffman Awards?
So the Hoffman Awards is something that is given annually by the by the Santa Clara County School Boards Association. What they do is that they have a pool of board members that visits different schools, and they look at different programs. Each school districts apply for the Hoffman Award, and when they apply for the Hoffman Award, the Santa Clara County School Boards Association then dispatches a team of folks to read the application and then they actually go out and see the program. We have tried for several years since I've been on the board to obtain the Hoffman Award and had not been able to achieve that, so I am super grateful that this program, at the Middle College High School, was able to break one more barrier that we are experiencing at Milpitas Unified School District, so that we can just continue to just driving things forward. So again, it's a selection process. School board members travel from school to school, they read applications, and then they choose. And once again, Milpitas has been chosen to receive this award. So that's the information about the Hoffman Award.
Thank you, President Norwood. And I might add that now this leads the way for us to apply for the Golden Bell Award for the state.
Oh, so that's on me. Awesome.
Still have one. All right. Thank you, robotics team, and thank you, Vibeke. I would like to share with the board and our community our new Director of Maintenance, Operation, and Transportation, Ms. Van Nguyen. And I'd like to invite you to say a few words to the board and community, Ms. Nguyen.
The mic. Gotta make sure the mic is on.
You have to turn it on.
Not yet.
He said he needed one more.
Not yet. No, okay. I just want to thank Superintendent Jordan and the board for this great opportunity to be part of the culture of we. I very much look forward to implementing improvements to communication system to better outreach to parents, students, and staff, and also maintain functioning facilities to be instrumental into educational pathways such as social and emotional and academic gains, which will allow students to apply for passion and learning for their future careers. And who knows, perhaps one of our students may spark an interest in being the future director of MOT. So again, thank you for this opportunity. Lastly, I want to thank my family for the support and definitely the late nights. So please have dinner ready. Again, thank you.
Love it.
Okay, and this next person I would like to invite up to the podium in a moment is Mr. Damon James. He started in our district in 1997, and when I was assistant principal at Rancho, I came to know Mr. James, who was a student intern at the time. And he was a person that many of our students looked to for guidance, and he always had a great community of learners in his classroom, and wherever he goes, he has that same community of following learners and leaders, no matter how old they are. He has demonstrated through his different roles as assistant principal at Russell, and then principal at Willer, and principal at Russell, and director at HR, that he is a person who has a great deal of integrity, likes to do things to the best of his ability and more, is always inquisitive, thoughtful, and a great model of what it means to be a lifelong learner. And he is a person who I have found through the years to be a thought partner. And I just got to say it, he follows a great role model in his parents, and having had your mom, Ms. James, as my own mentor, I see where you get a lot of that. And Mr. James, Director James, and I spoke about the different pathways to the role of Assistant Superintendent of Human Relations, and we landed on the title Interim Assistant Superintendent for now, and his official start date will be July 1. However, I know that he has been closely watching you, Assistant Superintendent Brunson, and he has already been engaged in other professional learning experiences, such as the California Association of School Employee and Leadership, and has been taking negotiations, certifications, amongst other things that will support him in his new role. And so, soon-to-be interim assistant superintendent of human relations, Mr. Damon James, I would like to ask you to come to the podium.
Good evening, trustees and Superintendent Jordan. I am humbled by the appointment and your belief in the work I've done and will do for this district, my district. The HR world has its complications. We're often engrossed in hiring, contracts, policies, and procedures. But our most important work is how we engage with people. In working with union presidents and vice presidents such as Diana Orlando, Clarissa Isbell, Suzette Bromagem, and Michelle Kessinger, I've learned to lead with empathy and patience. For to be empathetic is to understand another person's thoughts and feelings in a situation from their point of view, rather than my own. It differs greatly from being sympathetic. That is where one is moved by the thoughts and the feelings of another, but maintains an emotional distance. Strategic goal number 1 is to build a culture of we that engages parents, staff, and community partners in supporting student success. It is my belief that to do this, we have to hold empathy high in order to capture the minds and hearts of our constituents. In this new role, I will continue to honor my empathetic sixth sense while adhering to the direction of the superintendent and the board, and collaborating with union leadership on the varied circumstances that are in our future. I want to thank my boss and confidant, Jonathan Brunson, for the wisdom that you shared over the years, as well as the entire HR team of Heather, Lori, Kay, Marilena, Kirti, and Catherine for working collectively to support the employees of our district. I stand on a foundation of strength and resiliency, and this foundation consists of my parents, the rest of my family and friends. Thank you for holding me up. To those who've worked with me in the past, know that I have not forgotten my roots in Milpitas Unified and will continue to draw upon lessons learned at Rancho, Russell, Weller, Russell a second time, and as HR director and beyond. Thank you all again.
All right. Uh, Looking forward to that.
Would the board like to add anything? Mr. Sandy? Okay. Well deserved, Mr. James.
Next, I have my Superintendent State of the District update. We have some exciting changes in the world of COVID. Since the last reporting 2 weeks ago, we have only an increase of 19 student cases and 9 staff cases. As you can see, countywide in the wastewater, which is the best determiner in these days of what the COVID virus is doing, it's at medium. I'd like to point out there are some new changes in COVID test kit distribution. Now that the state of emergency has been lifted by Governor Newsom, and because the rates of COVID are much decreased, instead of giving COVID tests to every student and their family, they are available now at schools or offices for request. The only time that we will be sending them home to everybody is right before spring break in April. And again, we will ask people to test just prior to returning to schools, because we have found at every break that with that practice, we have avoided having people come on campus who are carrying the virus. So we will no longer be distributing test kits on a regular basis. Families and staff members will need to make a request for those. They will be on hand, again, at schools and offices. I would also like to point out that in the city of Milpitas, I asked the county public officer for this data and received it the other day, that in our city, you can see that the percentage of Milpitas residents who received the bivalent booster by age, you can see what their percentages are listed here. And it's around 20 to 28% for our kindergarten through high school age learners. And while that is a little bit on the low side, it's actually higher than it is countywide. So that's just another indicator of how our families and residents in Milpitas really take the concern of health and safety for themselves and each other to heart. And we will be offering another COVID booster clinic in the next month or so. I would like to point out that in the last 2 weeks, we've had some incredibly great community opportunities that demonstrate that MUSD is on the move. You see in the lower left picture our Science Olympiads at Milpitas High School. They also included some of our middle school students. And you see some of our board members and staff members. And on March 11th, the I think it's the Divisional Science Olympiads was supposed to be held at another venue, but at last minute, that was canceled, and MUSD graciously stepped up and said, hey, we'll have you guys here. So the Milpitas High School campus was filled with hundreds of students, somewhere close to probably about 500, I would guess, from looking at the size of the group, all in different rooms throughout the campus competing for the Science Olympiads. And the Science Olympiads competition is that the students a week in advance get what their topic is, and then they have to create some sort of science experience, and then they compete with each other. And we were competing against private schools, charter schools, as well as other public schools. And our team qualified to go to the state champions. Then if you look in the upper part of this slide, you can see our principal, Ms. Deanna Satan, and next to her, Ms. Deanna Elzy. And you can see just behind her, you see our president, Ms. Orlando, and you can barely make out our assistant principal, Andrew from Milpitas High School, and I can just barely see the shoulder of Mr. James. But in addition to those that we see here, there were about 25 other Milpitas administrators who were there on a Saturday, spending their time interviewing very many applicants for our openings for teachers. So we do have a team of dedicated administrators who spend their time either in places like Science Olympiad, the STEAM Showcase, which is to the lower right, and recruiting, to just name a few of their weekend events, because we are on the move. And to the bottom right, we have two of our young people who were displaying their STEAM project that they had at the STEAM Showcase this Saturday, and that's Vice Mayor Evelyn Chua, who's there listening to them describe what it is that they did for the STEAM Showcase, which is done in conjunction with the Milpitas Community Education Endowment. And thanks to our teacher leaders who are supporting that, and who come to mind are Ms. Muska, Ms. Lebec. I know that there are many others whose names I'm not recalling at the moment. And then also our Director of Tech Services, Mr. Chen Song. And together we had 507 students participating in the STEAM Showcase this year. And this concludes my State of the District for this board meeting.
Thank you, Superintendent Jordan. Probably add to the last part, the one thing that was most exciting about this year's STEAM Showcase is that we had amazing representation from Burnett, from Rose, and also Weller School as well at the STEAM Showcase. That's one of the things that we've been striving for, is to see just all the different communities represented at the STEAM Showcase, and that was represented at that point. So thank you again for all the principals that supported their students for the STEAM Showcase, and Superintendent for your report and your State of the District update. We have, I know if you guys have to take off, we understand. We're going to move on to item 15, and that is the We Are MUSD video spotlight.
Okay, we are going to play our MUSD video spotlight highlighting Milpitas High School music teacher Emily Moore.
So I'm Emily Moore. I am one of the music teachers at Milpitas High School, and I teach orchestra, choir, and AP music theory, and this is my 9th year teaching at Milpitas High School. I took music all throughout elementary, middle, and high school in Southern California, and I had wonderful, wonderful band directors and orchestra directors, and it really made me want to continue on and pursue music as a career, and that's my job. I bring music to my students, and we make music together every single day. So I have 2 orchestras, a string orchestra and a chamber orchestra that also becomes the symphony orchestra. I have 2 sections of choir that combine to one giant choir for concerts. I teach the AP music theory class, which is an AP level class for music. I see every single level of student, especially in choir. I have students who have never been in a music class in their lives, and by the time we get to this semester, we've already done at least 2 concerts, and we're ready to go to festival, and watching them progress through the levels of music as it gets harder throughout the year, but they get better and better, is wonderful. For me, I really, really do enjoy working with high schoolers. They're hilarious, and the level of music that you can do with them is incredible. In my symphony orchestra, we do real professional level music. And when we get to the concerts, being able to be on stage, conducting the group and hearing them play for an audience is one of my favorite parts of teaching music.
We are MUSD.
Thank you, Scott, for, I don't know if anybody had a chance to visit the musical performances just this past week, but the entire MHS high school gym was packed wall to wall, and there were so many different performances and so many kids that were just ready with their instruments. I mean, the program over the past 8 years has just grown exponentially, so kudos to the elementary school principals that recognize that outside the academics, we have to continue to create environments that cultivate the whole child in the way that they grow. Music is a social emotional learning strategy in terms of an outlet and a release, and the fact that it culminates into what we're doing. And I don't know if you pay attention to our band, which is led by Moises, but they travel everywhere, and they continue to compete on higher and higher levels, so they'll be ready for the real world. So kudos to everybody that's involved in terms of making that programs happen, and because we are K-12 unified, so seeing the whole story really, really makes a difference in terms of understanding all the roles and responsibilities we play as a collective group. So kudos, Scott, thank you for that. Thank you to everybody that had a chance to attend the music conference or the music showcase, and then for allowing the music showcase, the different activities to thrive at your schools. Super, super important. And yep, absolutely, and we definitely cannot wait for the next one. We are at item 13 on the agenda, Superintendent's Executive Cabinet's reports.
Thank you. I would like to start first with our principal report, Ms. Hannah Azret from Burnett, and Assistant Principal Brandy Johnson. Thank you, Brandy McMillan. And before you get started, Principal Azra, I would just like to point out also, as you're talking about the music festival, I'd like to recognize Ms. McMillan and the other assistant principals, particularly at the elementary sites, because they spend a lot of extra time helping to prepare for those rehearsals, taking the kids there, making sure everybody's where they need to be, and then staying after the performance to make sure every student gets home safely. Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Jordan and all y'all. We have a video because I know it's amazing to get to hear from our kids directly. So I'm actually going to start with that, and then I'll give you some of the context and stats afterwards.
Miranda Rosales. I do reading intervention with kids, the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Typically, we start with a book. We read it. We talk about it. We talk about what the story's about, who are the main characters. And then sometimes in between, we'll just do like a little writing assignment. We'll talk about words, what they mean. We'll write sentences. We'll play games. Yeah, typically the kids love it. I love it. They enjoy it. We laugh a lot, talk a lot. It's a good time.
My name is Miguel. I think it's really nice, and she's helping me improve in reading.
My name is Mia. Who I like playing the games and reading the books. I would say, Miranda, thank you for helping me so much for my reading.
Miss Brenda is good. He's teaching us like good.
Like how to read and correcting us in like the words that we say.
Because he's teaching us like stop in the period like that.
Just like that's just like us just correcting our words what we say. Sometimes it's like she makes us like sometimes laugh.
Penelope. The thing I like going to reading is that we actually do like a lot of fun things sometimes. We do lotto. We also, I think we're also like kind of learning about like compound words. Like I don't know. she's also really nice, and that's actually why I love reading. I want to say that thank you like for helping me trying to like get motivated to read, because like almost every time that I like finish my homework I start reading.
Oh, I've seen a lot of success. The kids are super excited to come to class. They are focused. They are ready to learn. They ask a lot of questions. They stop me at the playground. They tell me stuff like, oh, when are we reading again? Can my friend join the reading group? They come to my class early. They stay late. They are motivated to read on the weekends. They'll read on the weekends and they'll come and tell me what they're reading. They say, because of you, I want to read more. They've invested in bookmarks. They've asked their parents to take them to the library. It's a really good program. I always try to encourage the kids that, you know, they're smart, they can do this. I try to build up their self-esteem, and when we make mistakes, we laugh a lot because it's funny. And the kids, they just really, really enjoy it. And I'm so proud of them. They have worked so hard. Their focus is amazing, and I just love doing what I do.
So this is our reading intervention program for our 4th through 6th graders, connected to our strategic priority 4, focusing our services and supports to ensure that all students can make gains. We've had reading intervention at Burnett for 1st through 3rd grade since the 1920 school year. We figured out how to make it happen during a pandemic, and we saw such impressive gains there that we decided to reallocate, my school site council decided to reallocate the money we had been spending on a bilingual paraprofessional to focus it on reading intervention for 4th through 6th graders, because we noticed that our long-term English learners were mostly staying long-term English learners because they were struggling with reading. So what they needed was really focused reading instruction. And so Ms. McMillan, a former coach in the district, has been so wonderful and trained up Miranda, who's a parent at our school and also a campus monitor at our school. So she started reading intervention in January. We've got 15 students right now who get 30 to 40 minutes a week of small group reading instruction 4 days a week. So 30 minutes at a session, 4 days a week. And I just looked at their data from there. So they had their D2 data was like November, December, and then they just took it again at the end of February. So that period where she started providing that intervention, average I-Ready growth for those students was 20 points. But I have one student here who grew 67 points, one student who grew 51 points. Really impressive growth. 6 students moved up at least 1 grade level. I have a student who moved from the red to the green. So they were 2 years behind and now they're on grade level.
How much time span is that?
That's 3 months, a little less than 3 months. 2 students have been able to be reclassified as fluent in English because of their work here with Miranda just in this 2 months. It's that focused instruction and the fact that she so clearly loves what she does. And the kids feel safe and comfortable with her. One of our students who is struggling with attendance, her attendance has improved. She's not always here on time, but she's always here on time for reading. So she gets to school early enough to make it to reading every day because she loves going. One of our students who we had in the office almost every day with behavioral issues, I haven't seen him in the office in 3 months. He wouldn't go to any intervention. He loves going with Miranda. So we're just really, really excited about the initial success of this program, really excited that we were able to allocate the funds to do this and that we have the resources. And I'm so proud of the work that Miranda's doing, so grateful for Brandy's expertise so that we were able to do that training, and so proud of our kids who were all very eager to share. I love Penelope's hesitant, I actually like reading now. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to share with you guys for today.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for me?
Any questions from the board?
I don't have any questions, but I don't want to be biased, but I attend the school site council meeting, and Hannah is doing a great job, and with Miss Miranda too, she is very enthusiastic, and she's very happy. She loves what she does, and I can see a big difference in you sharing the scores and the numbers, and so keep up the great work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that I echo Board Clerk Giptron's sentiment in terms of the fact that you recognize that the students don't reclassify by the time they reach 6th grade, then the ability to take electives in middle school and their pathway is changed. So that intentionality and the fact that you're paying attention to that, you know, kudos to you and your team. The fact that you were creative in the utilization of your resources and groomed a community member that could connect to students to get these types of outcomes. Hopefully your peers were listening and they're a little bit jealous, or they've got a similar story they're going to tell the next time that they're, you know, presenting in front of us. So kudos to you for that, and thank you very, very much for your leadership.
Thank you.
Next, we have our executive cabinet. I'll begin with Assistant Sup of HR, Mr. Brunson.
Thank you, Superintendent Jordan. Just one report. This past Saturday, we attended the Santa Clara County Office of Education Teacher Recruitment Fair, and they had about 300 plus attendees. About 40 districts were there, and my shout out is to all our site admin and district admin that came to support the interview process. I know President Norwood took some pictures to capture us in action, and thanks to Damon James, our director, and new assistant superintendent for HR's leadership, and just the people that gave up their Saturday to interview candidates, potential members of Milpitas Unified School District. We always make our presence known there. Other school districts come in and look at the great work that we're doing and how we set up our booth, and I just couldn't be more proud as the assistant superintendent. And yeah, that'll be my report for this evening. Hopefully we'll get some of those people on contracts in the next few days, and we're moving forward with adding new team members to our district every day. So thank you.
Thank you. And then I'm going to jump over to Assistant Sup of Business Service, Wendy Jung.
Good evening again. I have two reports for tonight. The first is from our accounting department. We're currently working on the district's 2023-24 budget development. This afternoon, we provided a budget study with our teachers, classified employee association leaders, along with the Milpitas management representatives. Tomorrow, we will share the same information with our administration team. Secondly, I would like to remind everyone about our Parcel Tax Oversight Committee application. If you are interested in serving on this committee, please contact us in Business Services. The application deadline is May 1st. That concludes my report for tonight.
Thank you. And now I'd like to move to our Executive Directors of Learning and Innovation, Preeti Johari and Mary Ju Dorpinga.
Good evening. So as others, including Superintendent Jordan and our board members have shared, one of my highlights from this long weekend was the MUSD STEAM Showcase. And I wanted to give a special thanks to Karen Muska, one of our teachers on special assignments for spearheading, planning, and supporting the event. She describes it as planning a wedding every year, so the amount of work that might go into that is just one of the things that she helps to lead in our district. There were over 500 exhibitions in total, of which 150 were in person. So again, as you were sharing, MHS was buzzing with 300 students and their families. This year, one of the newest additions to the showcase was a family makerspace, which was the brainchild of Brenda Lebec. This allowed our parents, yes, shout out to her, she's got roots at Burnett. This really allowed parents and our young learners to work side by side. They were playing while they were building a catapult. They were building floats that, from foil and counting how many paper clips they could hold and building towers. So it was just a wonderful way to spark that excitement in students who will then one day be building the robots that are also winning competitions and changing the way we do things. Thanks.
Good evening. So I just wanted to piggyback on what Assistant Superintendent Brunson shared. The fruitfulness of the efforts of everybody. We have three speech pathologists already hired, and we're not at the end of March for next year. So I wanted to do a shout out for that. And then also secondly, just this is the time of year where we refer to us pushing forward and trying to get our targets and goals done for this year while we still have another foot in next year's work as well. And so as I think about that work and the work that's happening in our learning development department right now, we are really actively engaged in hiring, preparing for summer school, as well as the extended school year for our students with disabilities who are eligible. And then, as I mentioned, looking ahead to hiring for next year as well and doing our projections of students and classes for next year. And that concludes our learning and development report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Cabinet. And Mr. Forstner, do you have anything?
Yes, I actually received 2 written public comments that I'd like to read into the record, if that's okay.
Could they be related to Executive Cabinet?
They are related to a board policy on independent study.
So that's under you and me, so okay.
And,
Does that work for you, President Norwood?
That works.
Okay.
Thank you, President Norwood. Let's see. So the first one is from Gaurav Anand of Martel Way, and he has children attending Kirtner. I request that the board consider making independent study easier. Currently, restrictions like not allowing families to combine IS with school breaks is discriminatory to immigrant families who need more time to visit family in home countries or need more time for visa appointments. By removing the restrictions, you'll help the families be able to plan better and avoid high costs. And then we have another one from Viraj Patwardhan of Erie Circle in Milpitas, and they also have student at Kirtner Elementary. Hello, board members. We have been aware of a new policy unique to MUSD, which prima facie appears to be intended to discriminate against the national origins of students and their parents. The policy in question is one which does not allow the students to use independent study plans in association and adjunct to a planned school holiday. The use of independent study has been in particular used by families with national origins outside the United States. This is due to the simple logistical reasons where long and tiring trips to other countries to meet family members often need longer duration than what a typical school break schedule will allow. The school board has chosen to allow independent study plans overall, but just not in conjunction with school holidays. MUSD appears to an exception here, while other school boards in the Bay Area are actually extending the independent study availability beyond current numbers and allowing use of these plans adjacent to school holidays and breaks. This MUSD policy appears to specifically targeting people of minority ethnicities who wish to stay in touch with their families. We are appealing to the MUSD board to reconsider their policy decision in this matter. Thanks and best regards. And I would just like to thank you guys for letting me get that in there.
Thank you, Scott. I'll probably say that particular item directing the superintendent and the principals of our schools. Thank you for your efforts in terms of dealing with, as our community continues to evolve, we understand how important education is. We understand how important it is for our children to be in the seats for the 180 days of school the best they possibly can. And we understand that families have emergencies and things like that. We know that the research shows that if we have our students in seats and we have our parents engaged, that it's very, very important. And we're in a time post-COVID, so some folks might want to see their families and those types of things. And that each parent should be able to work with their principals on a case-by-case basis as necessary. But we do recognize the policy and the work that we need to get done in the school district on behalf of preparing their students for the future, especially dealing with some of the learning loss that we had during COVID. But as we know that these types of things are a continuous work in progress, and we will continue to evolve our schedule as necessary in alignment with the practices that we need to make sure that these kids are ready for tomorrow. So thank you, principals, for your hard work on that and listening to the parents and understanding how to work with them on a case-by-case basis. Next item, we have board group agreements, item 14. Board group agreements are provided for the board's ready reference as a reminder of our conduct as elected officials. And we will go, can we go left?
Sure.
All right.
Keep learning and achievement for all students as the primary focus.
Ask questions for our own understanding.
Be open and honest with each other.
No surprises include unapproved communications with law enforcement, news media, regional elected officials on behalf of the district and/or board.
Be aware that our behavior in the community reflects on us as a team.
Communicate proactively with each other about topics, questions, and challenges in open session and in advance of public board meetings in compliance with the Brown Act.
Participate in professional development and commit the time and energy necessary to be an informed and effective leader.
Actively support the culture of we in action, deed, and opportunity to serve the students and parents of the Milpitas Unified School District.
Thank you, everyone, for participating in reviewing our board group agreements as far as reminding us of our behavior as our conduct as elected officials. Item 15, board communication request. This part of the agenda provides school board members the opportunity to report on their activities as elected representatives. School board members may request the placement of items in future board agenda, relay information from the community, or request information from staff. The student board representative reports on school and student activities. Reports are limited to 90 seconds each, but you don't have to rush so that we don't clearly understand them. So let's go with the student board rep, Scott.
Sure, President Norwood. Let's start with our student board rep from Milpitas High School, Nikita Sharma.
Over the last few weeks, we have been working on some of our largest events yet. In the beginning of March, we organized a prom fashion show to spread word about the event, sell tickets, and publicize one of our partners, Tuxedo Warehouse. During the next week, in collaboration with the MHS College and Career Center, we hosted a career fair where professionals from local colleges and businesses like Tesla and Amazon promoted their organizations to the students and relevant opportunities. That very week, we held panels for students to get to know about their future class officers, and the candidates publicized and spoke about their goals. Commissioner applications will be released shortly. Additionally, we ran Say Something Week from March 13th through 17th. During this week-long program, we created various events and spread information in an effort to raise awareness about and prevent school violence. Lastly, most of our current efforts have been centered around Trojan Olympics, which will be this Friday. Last Wednesday, the classes and their teams put up all-class deco as they geared up for this major event. And this week, we're hosting a rally on Friday, a spirit week, and multiple lunch events to set the mood. And finally, I would like to invite anyone interested, anyone here to come join us on Trojan Olympics this Friday from 7 to 10 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Student Board Rep Sharma. We're going to move right along to our Cal Hills Student Board Rep, Ariana Rocha. Go right ahead, Ariana.
Hello. So Calvary Hills High School updates. We just got off a 3-day weekend celebrating Cesar Chavez Day. And last week we had our Calaveras Hills Reimagining meeting where our principal, Mr. Stice, and Dr. Schmidt gave a presentation about the new shift of project-based learning. And where teachers, students, parents, and board members were all involved in the meeting, learning about the new shift. And 11th graders will be getting ready to take the CAS test for next week. And this Friday is career day, and we are able to have the opportunity to earn double productive periods that day. And that's it.
Thank you, Student Board Rep Rocha. And now we're going to go over to our Student Board Rep from our fill-in Board Rep from Milpitas Middle College, Harish Raghunath. Go right ahead, Harish.
Hello, everyone. In the last 2 weeks, our school has hosted a new student recruitment lunch, which has been a complete success. Many students learned about the pathways in our schools and got one-to-one help on applications. As a reminder, our application window closes on March 31st, which is this Friday. Our student government also hosted a chess tournament, which has helped with school bonding and usage of critical thinking. We would like to thank everyone who showed up and our participants who have helped make the event what it was. Today, our school held a career learning opportunity for those in our school who are interested in becoming police detectives. Many of our students learn more about career pathways and help educate us about the work necessary to get the job. This Friday, we also have a visit to Cal Hills where we all will participate in the Career Day, which many of our students are excited for. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Board Member Naka.
Thank you, President Norbert. Good evening, everyone. My report would be starting off with the Digital Business Academy at MHS, and I did volunteer at the Milpitas Charity Bingo, attended the Thomas Russell PTS's Community Resource event, Senator Aisha Wahab's Women Day celebration at San Jose Evergreen Extension, MUSD Bowling Social, along with some of our board and superintendent, Jordan, and AMI, the annual military inspection event of NROTC at San Jose Evergreen Extension again, the district's music showcase at MHS alongside my fellow board members and superintendent, represented Chamber in an interactive session on the prospects of small businesses at the adult education event, the CBAC meeting, Cal Health's meeting, and attended a couple of ribbon cuttings of our local businesses representing the Chamber of Commerce, the STEAM showcase, and the Rotary event, and these are most of them. And that concludes my report. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Board Clerk Kiptron.
Thank you, President Norwood, and good evening, everyone. What I did the last 2 weeks, I went to Senator Aisha Wahab's Women's Celebration, volunteer for the Bingo, MUSD Bowling Social, NJROTC Annual Military Inspection. I did a speaking engagement and small business basics class for Milpitas Adult Ed. I attended the County Supervisor Ellenberg's post-pandemic Women's Economic Empowerment Breakfast event. And I also gave out medals at the STEAM Showcase. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for all the work that you guys do, the board does in terms of being out in the community, working with parents, meeting other elected officials, and continuing to champion the work of the Milpitas Unified School District. I would like to add, I shared in a number of those different events with my fellow board members. I'd like to make a request from the superintendent. I had mentioned and asked before about a study session around Milpitas High School. I want to clarify that request. Whereas a year ago we had done the WASC accreditation, I would like to be able to do that study session on the progress that we have made on the recommendations from the WASC, and hopefully we can get that in before the year ends. And then also to follow up on the ability to meet with all the student leaders of the different schools, because they are, to a certain extent, extensions of the board as well, in terms of their leadership of their campus, and being able to bring them all together so that we can hear some of their leadership challenges, as well as we can support them moving forward, as well as the principals and the things that they need at their schools. Thank you for that. Item 16, reports. 16I, learning and development.
Good evening. This evening, I am excited to invite up Principal McMurray from Rancho Middle School to talk about the updates. Oh, and you're missing your partner. Oh, no, there she is. Sorry. Hidden behind the podium, and Clarissa Isbell. They're going to talk through the process of how they revamped the dress code, and I think it's a beautiful reflection of how our equity policy and culture and climate data is influencing changes in support of students and teachers on campus. So thank you for sharing your work.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and to share a little bit about the collaborative process that we recently went through with our student, staff, and parents to revise the Rancho dress code with the aim of removing any implicit or explicit biases This resulted in a more equitable and gender-neutral dress code. This process stemmed from data in the free response section of the MUSD SEL survey that we gave to students back in October 2022, which focused in part on school climate and culture. As with all our work, we look at equity and equitable outcomes in our policies and practices. So our new dress code is focused and is in alignment with tenets of restorative practices. These include equity of voice among all members of the community. All voices are valued, everyone is heard as we work to collaboratively problem solve. It was built with students as opposed to solely being built for students, and it enhances accountability, responsibility, and empowers change and growth for all members of the community.
In December, I brought up this issue with our ILT group in hopes of starting the discussion around equity and gender neutrality. And we started the discussion in ILT, and then we brought it to the thought exchange where we could get voices from all groups, which was something new and exciting for us because it's such a great way to hear the voices of all who are impacted by our decisions.
Yeah, so Thought Exchange was a great tool, and it was a vital part of the process to really get the input from all of our stakeholders and to remove a lot of the bias that tends to infiltrate those discussions and those exchanges. And so our first Thought Exchange prompt that we put out to 3 different stakeholder groups separately, parents, students, and staff, was the following. What are the most important things we need to consider to implement a bias-free dress code that is fair for all Rancho students? As we looked at the data from this first Thought Exchange, we had about 16,000 ratings, 745 participants, and again, those included students, staff, and parents. So I think that is self-evident that this was a very robust and inclusive and participatory experience. The intent here was to reduce opportunities for conflict wherever possible, and our dress code has unintentionally been a part of too many conflicts on our campus. So we then, as you can see on the timeline, shared the results from that first Thought Exchange, some of the top thoughts from each of the stakeholder groups, and we reviewed this data as an ILT and as a staff. We then proposed, based on what we read and what we saw, we proposed a second Thought Exchange and included a draft dress code so that we could solicit feedback on some of the proposed changes for the 23-24 school year. And so on that second, excuse me, let me go back really quick. The students and the staff in the first Thought Exchange, what we saw was that the majority were dissatisfied with the current dress code, which is what we've had this year and slightly revamped from what we had last year, very incremental change. Some of the perceptions were that it was not gender neutral and it was leading to inequitable outcomes. The second Thought Exchange prompt was the following. What do you like the most about our proposed draft dress code for 23-24, and what are your top concerns? So allowing everyone to read through it and share both pros and cons of what they saw there. So I'm going to switch gears slightly and share what I've observed as I've shared this proposed draft dress code with our students. Actually, you know what? Let me back up and go to the timeline. So we made adjustments to the draft dress code based on the feedback we got in the second Thought Exchange. I shared the slideshow that we received with parents and staff, and then we brought it back to our staff meeting in ILT one more time to receive final feedback on what were the things that were coming up in terms of the feedback from parents and staff. Those are the two groups that engaged in that second thought exchange. We left the students out. It was clear what their perspectives were. We wanted to get the staff and parents on that second thought exchange to see their final comments and input, given the fact that we had shared that, that proposed draft dress code. So from there, what we did was we saw, comparing the first thought exchange satisfaction level to the second thought exchange satisfaction level, we saw a complete flip. So in the first thought exchange, there was a 42% satisfied or very satisfied. And in the second thought exchange, we saw an increase of 4% to 46%. In the first thought exchange, we saw a 34% dissatisfied or very dissatisfied. In the second, we saw a 28%, so we lowered it 6%. And the neutral was basically the same, 25% to 26%. So what we saw also in that data was that the flip was most heavily pronounced in the staff. They really saw a better approach to the dress code in terms of what we were expecting, fairness, equity, gender neutrality, body type and size, how that was being considered, really to take into account all of the different things that have, for whatever reason, unintentionally plagued our dress code over the last several years. So we saw a good flipping of the satisfaction versus dissatisfaction from our first dress code to our second dress code after seeing the proposed draft for the 23-24 school year. Given that, we as a staff had an opportunity to share any last-second changes at a staff meeting, both verbally and in writing, and we incorporated some of those suggestions and changes into the final version, and our ILT, Instructional Leadership Team, went over that, and we were the ones who made the final decision to ratify that and finalize it in that March meeting. And we then shared that with our sixth graders, because as I went to the different orientations at our feeder schools earlier this month, I shared the updated dress code as part of that orientation. We also shared it with the parents at the sixth grade parent orientation meeting. I noticed an interesting thing as I shared it with the sixth grade students this year. I've never seen this before. So every year I share a part of the presentation about here's the expectations, and I met with a lot of groans and grins when they look at the dress code. That was not the case this year. This year there were some significant smiles and feelings of being heard and really being fair. And so I'd like to just share a couple of quotes from my meetings, because I asked groups of students specifically, what do you think about our new dress code? What are your thoughts? What are your, and I went up to tables after I was done and just kind of checked in to see what their feelings were. Some of the things they said were that this is the fairest dress code ever. That's a pretty amazing statement from a student. I really like this dress code. How many times have you heard that? Other similar comments. And when I asked each group, is it a fair dress code, they overwhelmingly and enthusiastically raised their hands. The most interesting reaction was from Rose. They were at Rancho the other day, and I said, all right, I'm going to share our new dress code with you guys. And there was this groan by the collective body of sixth graders. I was like, hold on, just give it a second. I want to explain. We've revamped our dress code for next year, so give it a chance, and then let me know what you think. And so I went through it, and you could see this groaning going away. And at the end, I said, what do you think? What are your thoughts on the dress code? And it was basically a 360. They were like, wow, it was amazing. It was like night and day. One teacher observed her student smiling as he was going into the Chromebook and putting his elective selections for next year. And she asked him, why are you smiling? And he responded, because of the dress code, it's awesome. So I am confident that our sixth graders are very excited and feel that this is a fair set of expectations in terms of what we want them to wear to school and why. So moving from there, and again, this came up because of student voice. It was the #1 topic on the free response section of that October 2022 MUSD Social Emotional Learning Survey. I went through every single one of the 500 plus responses, and the #1 topic was dress code. Change the dress code, change the dress code, change the dress code. And they had some quotes from that. Change the dress code because I don't understand what the problem with some clothes. There's nothing wrong with sweats or shorts. It isn't what really matters for your students to feel comfortable at school, safe and comfortable. So again, I really liked the experience that our students had to feel like they were a part of a democratic process in sharing their voice and being heard and starting this collaborative experience where all had a say, and we came out with what we feel is a very fair and collaboratively generated product.
So here it is. Here is the overview of the process we followed. So the process was inclusive with multiple opportunities for input, like we said. And can I just talk about our dress code? Because you kind of went over that. Okay, a lot. So this is it. We allow students to wear clothing of their choice that is comfortable. We allow students to wear religious attire without fear of discipline or discrimination. We prevent students from wearing clothing with offensive images, language, profanity, hate speech, pornography, depictions, advocacy of violence, and the use of alcohol and drugs. And we ensure that all students are treated equitably regardless of gender, gender identification, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, body type, size, religion, and personal style. So basically, as long as it's safe and healthy, we're good.
All right, so that is basically an overview of our dress code. I think there was one slide in there that I don't know that we covered, but we really wanted to make sure that we were focusing on those two main elements of health and safety. A lot of times we, in the past, have got stuck on color or a collar or something along those lines that has really no impact on the teaching and learning environment and on the safety and health of our campus and of our students and staff. And that's what we wanted to focus on, again, so that we could reduce these opportunities for conflict wherever and whenever possible between students and staff. And we feel that this new dress code, which will be in effect in 23-24, will truly get at that target better than what I've ever seen in the last, well, in my career. And that's our presentation. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask about whatever you just heard, feel free.
Board members?
I think that's incredible. I mean, it's the democratic world. So, I mean, the way you try to explain why this came up to begin with. So that's really commendable. And, you know, students have a voice that is heard. So that's a huge deal for them. So, and yeah, thank you for the presentation, Mr. McMurray.
No, thank you. Thank you very much for that. I think, you know, as long as students are comfortable, you know, going to school, they feel safe, I think it's very important. And so allowing them to wear, you know, I guess more options, let's say, that's, you know, I think that's going to help them out too in the long run.
Our student board member? Any comments, any thoughts? You sure? Okay. And I apologize, I need to make sure I keep you involved in the conversation because you are here to share your opinion. There may be some items that you may not be able to vote on, but we can hear your voice as well as our board members that are online as well. Scott, could you ask to see if our board members that are online have any comments or thoughts on this particular item, if they were able to listen?
Sure. Student Board Rep Rocha, do you have a comment regarding dress code?
Yeah, they might just be tuned in. I know they're focused. It's a school night, so I got to do a better job of engaging them.
And Student Board Rep Raghunath.
I'm here.
Did you have a comment about this item or no?
No, I didn't.
All right, thank you.
So I'd like to wrap up and say that, I'm familiar with how the pendulum swings, right? Because there were reasons about equity. One of the reasons why we had a dress code before was equity, because certain kids would have certain clothes and other kids wouldn't. So we said we were going to neutralize it by everybody having to wear because that was at that time. And so I would be very interested in continuing to monitor in terms of what the feedback is at the end of the next year. And then I would also ask the superintendent, how often do we review the dress code policy at the different levels, and then how do we make sure that those things are or are not enforced? Because I guess one of the data things that I'd be interested in is that the number of students that come to school next year with inappropriate type of gear out of the total number, and then what type of other issues that you're going to come up with, so that we can continue to make good decisions on each campus on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we plan on doing is making sure that this is reviewed annually so that we can use the data and see if it truly is meeting our expectations to produce more equitable outcomes for students.
Go ahead.
For the board policy and reviewing what needs to occur, as Principal McMurray was asking Executive Director Jahari about next steps, we recognize that in the board policy, actually each school is supposed to do a survey of families and students every 3 years on uniforms. So for those schools that still have uniforms, we need to make sure that that's happening, and I'll discuss that with our executive directors about a process that we can put in place and also include our principals so that we can make sure we get that more as a regular routine thing that we do.
And I appreciate the fact that this wasn't spawned by your own idea. The fact that you were looking at the data from the social emotional brought it to the forefront. I really appreciate that approach, and the fact that you did the 6th grade work, because I was thinking, which shouldn't this happen every year, but the reality is because you spoke to the 6th graders and they had probably gotten some generational knowledge about the dress code coming up.
Yes.
That so when they would answer the question, you would hear the moans and groans because.
Yes.
So, but you got the feedback on that. So I really appreciate the fact that you mentioned it to the 6th graders and you got that feedback as a part. And I always love hearing numbers. So thank you very much for your presentation and the manner upon which you went about making this decision. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, action items, learning and development. 17I, approve arts, music, and instructional block grant, executive director, learning and innovation.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous because my thought exchange for the budget only has 22,000 ratings. So clearly the dress code is very important to our students. So I'm really appreciative of the work that's happened there. But tonight, I personally want to ask you to approve the Arts Music Instructional Block Grant. And to start off, I want to actually explain how the title of that grant is a bit of a misnomer. And so I'm going to screen share here. So while the grant is called Arts, Music, and Instructional Block Grant, below are the listed allowable expenses. And so it talks about standards-aligned professional development for instructional materials and includes all the subject areas that we teach across our district. Also talks about best practices for improving school climate, specifically calling out restorative practices, diverse books, and operational costs. So what I have bolded are the places that we are choosing to allocate the funding from the Arts Music Instructional Block Grant, which is not to say that we don't think arts are extremely important. We do value that. The district has already made long-term commitments in that. I also want to share where Proposition 28 funding is coming through, and there the allowable expenses are much more restricted. They talk specifically about increasing arts instruction and programming in school, and then they list out what those allowable expenses are. So that funding, as it seems like the pendulum in California is swinging back towards categorical funding, we are trying to be really intentional about all of the needs in our district and looking at where can we use specific grants to support them. So in preparing for LCAP, in preparing for site allocations, one of the processes that I used was to schedule one-on-one appointments with all of the principals around their budget priorities. And one thing, our incredible elementary team, there is a range of leaders there with multiple perspectives and opinions, so I don't often get them to agree on things, but one thing that every single elementary principal advocated for was their assistant principals, saying that that role is integral to how we operate as a school, and particularly how we build, preserve, and support on a proactive basis, not just a reactionary basis, school climate and culture. So the Arts Music Block Grant, the proposal, the budget that I'm putting forward to you, the vast majority of that funding is allocated to our assistant principal salaries, including the health and benefits cost of that. So I've worked with Assistant Superintendent Wendy Zhang to have that money spread across multiple years so that this is an investment that we as a district can make and doesn't feel like an annual question mark, but allows us to build the systems and structures that will allow us to continue to support the whole child here. And so the little visual here is just to say, like, a lot of the money is coming with strings tied to how and where we can spend that. And so we are trying to be very intentional where we have flexibility to leverage that for what we know are our district priorities.
Thank you. So the visual at the bottom is saying that our hands are somewhat tied in terms of how we use these dollars.
Yeah, and just, and so we have to be strategic, right? So like arts is important. Prop 28 is where the funding for the arts will come from. And while this other grant is called Arts, Music, and Instructional Block, there's actually a little bit more flexibility, but still limited. It doesn't just go into the general fund. It gives us specific direction around that, and we are taking, zeroing in on number 2.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Amara and Scott, are there any comments from the public?
We have no public comment at this time.
Is there a motion by the board?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Seeing none. Motion carries. Approved. Awesome. Item 2, business services. Approve the agreement with MUSD and the City of Milpitas for the completion of public improvement with the Innovation Campus. Assistant Superintendent, Business Services.
Yes, you see, Travis is eager to present that item. He's ready. Well, this agreement with City of Milpitas is to helping us to get the encroachment permit for the off-site work for the Innovation Campus. So I will turn it over to our consultant, Travis, to provide some background with this and also the process of this agreement.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Wendy. First of all, congratulations, Superintendent Jordan. I have sat through literally hundreds of board meetings as a construction consultant and also a facilities director. I know what good leadership looks like, and you certainly have that, so congratulations. As a condition of construction of the Innovation Campus, the district is treated as a developer because we are developing that property, and as such, we are required to do certain public improvements to the roadways, which may include repaving, resurfacing, adding sidewalks, a signal light, in this case at Carnegie. And so we enter into some negotiations with the city as to what exactly they're wanting. We have the design team and several consultants on board with traffic studies and traffic patterns and environmental impacts related to the construction of this project. As this project is being completed in 2 phases, we need 2 encroachment permits. What we need in order to open phase 1 on time is utility connections. So while we don't have the completed design, nor do we have the time to finish the offsite improvements by August of 23, when phase 1 will be complete, we do need some of those utility hookups so that we can occupy those first 4 buildings. So what we did was enter into some negotiations with the city with regard to can we split this encroachment permit, much like we did at Mabel Matos. As you may recall, we had to widen the road there with the bus lane and do some road improvements there by Carl's Jr., and that took some time. And the city was amenable to that agreement. Our condition was that we needed to have that work complete prior to occupancy of phase 2 Matos. We fulfilled that obligation with several months to spare, in fact. And so in this case, we asked for the same thing because we need this utility connection. So that's what you see before you tonight, is this agreement that outlines that. And then in negotiations, the superintendent also asked the city to include language that the city, they oftentimes have grants that come up for traffic mitigation and those sorts of things. And so if they could just be diligent, apply for any grants that could offset some costs for the district. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Scott, are there any public comments?
We have no public comment at this time.
Is there a motion?
Move to motion.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none. Scott, Travis, is one of the services that your firm is going to offer is to look at grant opportunities for some of these strange projects, some of these unique opportunities that we have to deal with?
Yes. Yeah, and I'm constantly on the lookout for anything like that may come our way. I know Safe Routes to School is one that was very popular, but that typically only applies to K-8, so it wouldn't apply in this instance. But yeah, and in working with the city, I have a really good relationship with the folks down at the city now, and so there's a lot of collaboration and a lot of meetings we have together on various things. I have a meeting tomorrow morning at Matos, and so yeah, we're always looking out for that, and the city really does care about the interests of the district because it's a beneficial to both parties. So absolutely.
Understood. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. That was the additional discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you, Travis. Item B, accept blocks increment 2 proposal for early material procurement on the Innovation Campus lease-back agreement, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services.
Yes, this is also for our Innovation Campus. This is for our phase 2. And I will share the agreement very soon after this, and I just want to point out that there are lots of blanks in the agreement, which is intended to be, because this is not an entire lease-back agreement for phase 2 yet. This is just early material procurement for steel, I think, and the cost is $1,412,000. So we only listed the sessions that are related to this portion in this agreement. And then later on, after we have worked out with a block on the GMP, the guaranteed maximum price for phase 2, we have the entire agreement. We'll bring it back to board for approval at a later date. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Travis, and we also have Ryan from Block here to maybe provide some update on our even phase 1, the project, and also answer questions from the board.
Good evening again. So right now, phase 1 is going full speed ahead. There's been an incredible amount of rain this year that typically would have massive impacts on these projects, and it is having an impact. But it's something that Blocks thus far has been able to overcome. They did do multiple mitigation efforts to make sure that the pads were lime treated and prepared for this sort of thing, and then wicking the water away and doing everything they can to really offset the impacts of this rain. And so I'm happy to say that they are on schedule right now. We may get to a point where we authorize a little bit of overtime work toward the end, because as you may recall, buildings E and F, which are the campus extension closest to Calaveras, started some 3 weeks prior to buildings A and B, which you see up there in your upper left of this picture. So A and B is where district office staff is going to be, so we're really kind of working around issues with setting up cubicles and those things that take time, but Block's team, led by Ryan Holman here, has been just tremendous to work with. So right now we are on schedule, believe it or not, moving ahead at full speed. So you see a lot of activity happening very, very quickly. Every week it changes dramatically. For this board agenda item, we did something similar for phase one. We did an early procurement of steel. We allowed funds for the detailing. You have to do detailing for the storefront glass. It's an arduous task that takes some weeks. That way you have to get that submitted to the architect. Architect can then approve that submittal and they can order that glass. So in this case, it's early procurement, not of all the steel, but just the steel for these big X moment braces that you see, the stuff that really is a genuine long lead item. So there's a benefit to this folia, and the district's boldness in going with the folia is that the steel doesn't change building to building. So it's not something that we're going at risk by saying, hey, here's $1 million, go buy steel. They know exactly what they need, and it can be fabricated, and that will keep phase two on time, because the phase two completion date is August of 2024. And so that's why we're bringing this to the board tonight to say, okay, if you can fund this $1,412,000, they can get that going, and it helps us keep our overall schedule. And I would say that in talking with Ryan, and he can speak to this too if you have questions for him, we're in a really good place in that the glass proposal from phase one and the steel proposal from phase one are almost identical in phase two. So over that year's time, we did not see escalation in glass or steel. That's good news for us, and we're hoping that it bodes well for the remainder of the GMP, which will be brought to the board here in a future meeting. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, or Ryan would.
Scott, are there any public comments?
We have no public comment at this time.
Any questions from the board? Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? So just to be clear, we're securing steel and glass now, very similar to the approach that we had before for phase one, so that we could potentially be on time.
Correct. So we're securing a portion of the steel, which are those really long lead and more difficult things to fabricate, but we're certain of what those are, and then just the detailing effort for the glass. So that is to say, there's a designer that needs a detail of this piece of glass in this dimension, made in this manner. They submit that to the architect and their engineers for approval. So it's not the purchase of the glass, it's just the detailing effort plus the purchase of a portion of the steel. And this will help us maintain schedule.
Sorry, that's just phase one and two, right?
So we did it, y'all approved that last year for phase one, and it worked out very, very well. We're asking you to do the same thing again here for phase two, which are buildings C and D, which would house mostly Cal Hills. Yeah, and that will start in June when we remove buildings 200, 300, 400. It goes in that space.
Is there a motion?
Move to motion?
Motion and second already.
That's right. We did. 1 second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Seeing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, item C, approve the district's 2022-23 transportation plan, Assistant Superintendent Business Services.
Yes, I prepared a short presentation for this item. And I think this presentation will help us to walk you through the process, how we develop this transportation plan. The home to school transportation program, there is no mandate for the school district to transport students from home to school and back, and for general ed. So we just want to make this very clear. That is no intent from Governor Newsom's proposal to transport every student. And we attach the board policy here for the public and the board to review. And so the regulation that the Governor Newsom proposed and adopt into the law is starting this year, 22-23, in order for the school district to receive more funding, basically, on transportation, and we will need to develop a plan. And the additional funds is called, right now, we receive about $410,000 through our LCFF, which is the local control funding formula, as an add-on. And if so the governor's proposal is the district can receive up to 60% of what we spent last year. So for example, last year our actual expenditures on transportation was 1.1 million, and we can receive 60% of it, which is about 670,000. But since we already get the 410K through LCFF, so the difference will be the 260,000 if we develop this plan and we can receive it. And also the legislation also asks the district, we can also charge a fee for transportation.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
so does that mean that if we have students on the Rancho side of town that needed transportation to Milpitas High School, and they didn't fall in, as low income or underserved, that we could charge them a fee and provide them busing from the Rancho area to Milpitas High School?
In the future, in the long run, if we do have that capacity, if we can, then there is an option. Yeah.
Thank you. Because a lot of times from that side of town, I can see every morning, I can see kids that they've either missed the bus or something's going on in that area and they're waiting for the bus, long after 8:30 in that area. I've seen some kids catch Uber or other things to get to school on time, so I was just asking about it, so thank you for that.
Sure. And so again, so in order to receive that additional funding, the district is required to develop a transportation plan. And then this it requires the governing board to adopt this plan by April 1st. And here are some of the items or priorities that we should include in our plan, which we have attached here, our plan. Let me see. I probably, after I finish this presentation slide, I can pull up the plan. And this plan is just, it's a beginning of the process. And because we have our limited resource, and this is just a basic factual information with the number of buses we have. We total as a district, we only have 12 buses right now. 4 small one and 8 large one. And we have 5 bus drivers and 1 dispatcher. And we're fortunate we have ground slice bus driver positions. And when we have a shortage in bus drivers, due to illness and this and that absence, and often we can pull from the grounds and to help to drive school bus. And the average, the miles was driven each day, is about 250 miles average. And right now, the maximum route we have is 9 routes. And our priority right now is basically to transport special needs students. That's the capacity we have right now. So I just want to be very clear, President Norwood, you just asked the question, in the future, when we have that capacity, that means when we have additional buses, when we have additional staff, there might be a potential or opportunity down the road for us to transport the students maybe from one area to the other area and charge a fee. But right now, unfortunately, this is our capacity. So, and our plan is based on now number one priority and focus, and by law is to transport the special needs students.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, can I ask something real quick here?
Sure.
You said 5 bus drivers, 1 dispatcher, then down here 7 grounds bus driver. Can you kind of elaborate on what you mean by that?
Oh, 7, you mean 7 ground? Well, so we have a positions called grounds/bus drivers. So in a way, if we have a bus, if we have a need, we need a bus drivers. They can also drive a bus.
Oh.
And but when we don't have a need, and then their main duty is actually grounds. They're working on the grounds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, from our MOT department.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we actually formed a district-wide transportation committee. And here are some of the representatives from each group, stakeholders. And we have a VTA representative with us. And we have held 2 meetings, one on October 19th and the other one on November 2nd. Because currently we had a vacancy of the supervisor position, and also we don't have a director of MOT. So this is just a process of developing the plan. So tonight I'm going to ask the board to approve this plan for now, and then along the way, this is going, let me see if I can pull up the plan. And then along the way, and we will continue to work with our committee to develop plan, because this plan should be updated each year and bring it for board review and approval. So this is just a beginning document, so it will be a living document.
Understand. Are there any questions from the board? Is there a motion?
Move to motion.
Second?
Second.
Additional discussion question. You have a committee there. During that committee that you had put together, was there any work on identifying the need of what the district needs in terms of busing? Like surveys that have gone out now that we have to come up with this plan, or is it more so we have a funding opportunity that we need to be able to clearly articulate the plan that we have, and then we're going to iterate on that plan moving forward?
And right now, honestly, we're not there yet.
Okay.
And this committee just barely formed, and we had 2 meetings, and the first couple meetings basically to share with the committee our current inventories and introduce our current program, and then to get them familiar. And then we had discussions among the representatives and through the committee and about the needs. And we will continue to have the discussions. And then maybe along the road, when we have the MOT director position filled in, and when we have the transportation supervisor position filled in, and then we can continue the work.
Sorry, is this transportation, is that K through 12 you mentioned, or is that?
Yes, yeah, this is our district transportation plan to cover for TK to 12. But right now, our priority is on special needs students.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any information on the students being able to leverage the city's smart transit system?
Are you talking about that new shuttle that
Yes.
the last mile that they talked about?
Yes.
No, we could look into that. I do remember that when they presented it, I asked about it, and it has a set route, so I could ask if students got on that route, if they could make it there.
Okay, thank you.
or maybe in the future we can have one of the city staff to join our transportation committee, can provide that information, right? Yeah, yeah.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be good as well. And the ability to invite a board member to the meetings to understand about the transportation, because we also have a different lens into the community, what the needs are during the day, again, in the morning, the transportation. If, for example, Randall's a world languages school, different parts of town could go to Randall, we're gonna have another language there. There may be a potential route, again, this is in the future, that takes folks to that school because they live all over the city. So there may be some things to consider that as, you know, we continue to move forward with the planning of that campus. We have a motion and a second. We have a discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Seeing none, motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Wendy. And we did item D. We did Human Relations 3, item A. We're on Human Relations 3, 17.3, item B. Adopt Declaration of Need for Fully Qualified Educators 2023 to 2024.
Thank you, President Norwood. As of July 1, 1994, and every year since, the Commission of Teacher Credentialing has implemented a process for issuing credential waivers, or also known as emergency permits, for those teachers who hold internship credentials or are adding additional authorizations to an existing credential. The Commission requires the Governing Board to adopt a declaration need yearly at a regularly scheduled public board meeting, and it has to be an action item. These are numbers that are attached to this document in this action item that are a high estimate, so that we don't need to come back to the board in the future for approval should the actual need exceed our anticipated need. So with that, it is my recommendation that the Board of Education adopt a declaration of need for the 23-24 school year for the positions that we've listed in this attachment.
Scott, is there any public comment?
We have no public comment at this time.
Is there a motion?
Motion to.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Seeing none, motion carries.
Thank you, trustees.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Brunson. Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Zhang, for your work this far on these different items. Much appreciated. And we now have Superintendent's Office adopt Resolution 2023.30, recognizing and honoring March 31st as Cesar E. Chavez Day of Service and Learning.
Thank you. And I would like to ask our communications specialist and board support, Mr. Scott Forstner, to present.
Yeah, for this one, we've got a collection of students and staff from our Randall Elementary World Languages School that starred in this video resolution we're going to play right now.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Diaz, third grade teacher at Randall. This is the resolution 2023.30, recognizing and honoring March 31st as Cesar E. Chavez Day of Service and Learning.
Por cuanto el hijo de trabajadores migrantes agrícolas César E. Chávez se enteró de la opresión de los trabajadores del campo de primera mano y dirigió sus metas y aspiraciones de vida hacia la educación de sus compañeros trabajadores agrícolas para que comprendieran sus derechos de tener un lugar de trabajo seguro y un salario justo y por cuanto en 1972 César E. Chávez cofundó el Sindicato de los Trabajadores Agrícolas United Farm Workers Union para impugnar las malas condiciones de trabajo de los trabajadores en los campos y buscó empoderarlos al organizar el primer sindicato y así adquirir contratos laborales de los trabajadores agrícolas en los campos de uva. Y
for more than 3 decades, Cesar E. Chavez led this groundbreaking organization by effecting social change through peaceful tactics such as fasts, boycotts, strikes, and pilgrimages. His union efforts influenced and inspired millions of Americans, forging a diverse national coalition of students, middle-class consumers, religious groups, and minorities in a hard-won struggle to achieve fair wages, medical coverage, pension benefits, humane living conditions, and perhaps most important, dignity and respect for the hundreds of thousands of farm workers across the country. And
whereas Cesar E. Chavez said, real education should consist of drawing the goodness and the best out of our own students. What better book can there be than the Book of Humanity? And
por cuanto fue creado el día del servicio y aprendizaje de Cesar Chavez para los niños de las escuelas públicas y así promover el servicio a las comunidades de California en honor a la vida y el hombre de Cesar Chavez. Y
por cuanto, incluso después de su muerte en 1993, su mensaje de no violencia, unidad y justicia para todas las personas continúa hoy. Y
now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of Milpitas Unified School District that March 31 is designated as Cesar E. Chavez Day of Service and Learning.
Passed and adopted by the Milpitas Unified School District Board of Education at a meeting held on March 28, 2023 by the following vote.
Is there a motion? Scott, are there any public comments?
We have no public comment at this time.
I'll repeat, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you for that resolution. Scott, thank you for the diversity, the mixing language, gender, just having a wide variety of folks involved in that resolution. Much, much appreciated.
Thank you.
Did I miss something? Okay. Consent items. Consent items are considered routine and will be acted upon in one motion. There's no discussion on these items prior to the motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request that specific items be tabled or removed for discussion or correction. Scott, are there any comments from the public that report items to be removed?
Sorry, yes, 1 second. As I'm just, oh my God, we're spilling water everywhere.
Staff would like to remove the item under Human Relations, A, approve Coordinator 1 Math Literacy Intervention Programs and Coordinator 1 English Learner and Student Services Programs. We need to make some additional edits.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Okay. Awesome. So that item will be tabled. Are there any other items to be tabled or removed? Could you repeat that item, which one number that was?
It is item under Human Relations. It's item 3A.
Okay. Any other items? Is there a motion to approve the consent items excluding item 3A under Human Relations?
Move to approve consent items.
We have a motion to approve consent items excluding the one mentioned under Human Relations, item 3A. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Seeing none, consent items passes. Thank you for that, and thank you for catching that and wanting to bring that back. I really appreciate it. And then we have date of future board meetings, April 18th, tentative study session 5 p.m., tentative closed session 6 p.m., open 7 p.m., hybrid on Zoom, YouTube and Randall Elementary World Languages School. May 9th, tentative study session 5 p.m., tentative closed session 6 p.m., open session 7 p.m., hybrid on Zoom, YouTube and Randall Elementary Rural Languages School. Are there any additional announcements or reminders?
I do have a future event that's coming up on behalf of the Milpitas Chamber of Commerce. We do have a crab feed coming up, the 29th annual crab feed event, which on behalf of the chamber, we would like to extend the invite to all the board members and the community at large to get their tickets or book the table and represent at the crab feed. It is happening on April 14th, 5:30 to 9:30 p.m. at the community center.
And the early bird special is going to end this Friday.
End of March.
Early bird
Okay.
special, just for you, Chris.
Always just, yeah, I appreciate that. Okay. Are there any other announcements?
I have one.
Okay.
Just the local control accountability plan thought exchange survey will go out via email one final time this week. The survey will close on Friday, the 31st. So please, even if you've completed it before, go back in, look at it. You can rate the thoughts of other people and share yours. We have 1,000 unique participants right now. 50% of those are students. Which is incredible, but I would also love to further engage our adult voices. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jane.
I just wanted to put out a request. We, with the Milpitas Inclusive PTA, we are still seeking board members for the 23-24 school year. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to me or Dave Fleshner. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent? Superintendent Jordan, any announcements?
No announcements for today.
Okay. I have one announcement. As a result of Measure B funding allocated for bicycle education and encouragement, Silicon Valley Bike Coalition is partnering with School District and Weller Elementary to offer a variety of programming for National Bike Month, which is May, and Bike to Wherever Days. The programming offered will be a bike rack decoration contest and Bike to the Moon competition, both offered in collaboration with the Santa Clara County Public Health Department. At Weller Elementary, they will be doing a bike bus on National Bike Enroll to School Day on May 3rd. The intention is to continue to offer bike busing, is where communities of bike riders ride together as a collective, practice bike riding, safe bike riding in large groups, so that there is safety in numbers. With an effort to give more Milpitas residents access to safe biking opportunities, the collaboration will also tie into important conversations about social justice and equity. That is the only announcement that I have. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained?